Assalamualaikum to Ustazah Ashla. Today, me and Zarif will be presenting on the historical development of fiqh, especially in the third first stage, which is the foundation stage, establishment stage, and also the building stage. So, firstly, I will be presenting on the foundation stage. So the first stage in the development of faith covers the era of the Prophet Muhammad apostleship, which is during 609 to 632 CE, which during the only source of Islamic law was divine revelation in the form of either Quran or Sunnah. The Quran represented the blueprint in his day-to-day life, which is Sunnah, acted as a detailed explanation of the general principles outlined in the Quran as well as a practical demonstration of their application. So firstly, we're going to look into the Mecca period, which is during the 609 to 622 CE. The period starts with the beginning of the prophethood in the Mecca and ends with the prophet's hijrah to the city of Medina. The revelations of this period were mainly concerned with building the ideological foundation of Islam and Iman. The important themes of this revelation is Tawheed, Allah's unity, Allah's existence, the next life, which is heaven and hell, the people of God, and also Salah, form of prayer, and also challenges. Next, onto the Madinah period, which is during the 622 to 632 CE. The Hijrah marks the beginning of this period, and the death of the Prophet ﷺ in 632 marks the end. After the Prophet's migration to Madinah and the spread of Islam there, he was appointed as the ruler, and the Muslim community became a fledgling state. During this period, that the majority of the social and economic laws of the Sharia were revealed, and the important themes of this revelation is legal injunctions, which is Al-Ahkam Al-Amaliyah. Next, people of the book, Ahlul Kitab, jihad and rulings related to welfare, the hypocrites, munafiqs, and also the moral and ethics related to the social life. Next slide. These are some of the method of legislation. Firstly, continuous revelation. Next, direct answers to question raised in the Quran. Next, cater to certain incidents which to solve the problems of the incident. Next, necessities of the society. For example, the types of zakat. Next, reasons for gradual revelation. And lastly, method not limited to public law but also to individual law. So these are some of the legal content of the Quran includes dealings between Allah and man, such as prayers, fasting, zakat, and haji, and also dealings among men. The basis of legislation in the Quran includes the removal of difficulty or hardship, the reduction of religious obligations, the realization of public welfare, and also the realization of universal justice. So moving on to the stage 2, which is establishment. This is the era of the righteous caliph and major of Sahaba, which is including from the era of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to the era of Sayyidina Ali, which is from 632 to 661 CE. During this stage, it focuses on the expansion of Islam, for example, towards Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, and Persia. Next, they also face new system, culture, and behavior, and they also rely on ijma and ijtihad. The problem-solving procedure of the righteous caliph. The first step is when they are facing with a new problem, the caliph of this period would generally take the following steps in order to solve it. First, they would search for a specific ruling on the problems in the Quran, and if they didn't find the answer in the Quran, they would search for a ruling in Sunnah. And next, if they still haven't found the answer in the Quran and Sunnah, they call for a meeting of the major Sahaba and try to get an unanimous agreement on a solution to the problem, which is ijma. And if the unanimity could not be arrived, they would take the position of the majority. If, however, differences were so great that an overwhelming majority or opinion could be determined, the caliph would make their own ijtihad, which would then become law. It should also be noted that the caliph had the right to overrule the consensus. The approach used by individual Sahaba and Ijtihad was firstly warning that ruling might not be as Allah intended. Secondly, drop differences, which is when they gave a ruling and they later found the authentic Sunnah, they will drop the differences. And lastly, no force if no proof. If they can't find an authentic proof or anonymity, they respect each other's opinion and they have no force for others to accept. They will only force if later they found out that people are following practices formerly acceptable but was later prohibited. The characters the characteristic of fakes, firstly, they look into the real issues of fake, which is based on actual problem. Next, they are not rigid with lawmaking procedures, which means that they respect for freedom towards opinion. And next, usage of personal opinion. Moving on is to the modification of law, and lastly, there are no specific must-have. That is all from me. I will be passing to Zarif.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Zarif Aiman. I'll be presenting about the stage 3, which is building. So during the rise and fall of Umayyad dynasty from the time of the founder, Muawiyah, until the last caliph around mid 8th century, which is around year 661 to 750. It is marked by social unrest. The Ummah divided into various sections and groups. The caliphate was converted to kingship. New practices were introduced, and there also the ulama is different from the umrah. Next, trend regarding the Islamic law, more ijtihad and less ijma'. There is also a widespread of hadith, compilation of fiqh, and clear-cut division of ulama. So there are four factors affecting fiqh. First is division of ummah. The division of ummah is socio-political chaos leading to division among ummah, and numbers of sections and factions appear. Second, division of Umayyad caliphs. Baitul Mal became personal property of caliphs. They also introduced taxes not sanctioned by Islam to increase their fortune. Next, entertainment in court, music, dancing girls, magician, and etc. Third, dispersion of ulama. Scholars fled away from political center, resulted in breakdown of ijma'. Scattered scholars caused an unanimity to be impossible to establish. They also led to increase in ijtihad to tackle problems in their areas and evolution of mazhab. Fourth, fabrication of hadith, false sayings and actions of Prophet started to spread out, which led to compilation of hadith and development of science of hadith. So there are two characters of faith. The first group being Ahli al-Hadith and second group being Ahli al-Ra'i. For Ahli al-Hadith, their characteristics are that they limit their deductions to available text. Laws whose purposes were identified were used in analogical deductions. Their center is Madinah, and their faith is practical and based on real problems. While Ahli al-Ra'i, there are extensive use of deductive reasoning and ijtihad. All laws revealed had identifiable reasons applied to other circumstances which had similar causes. Their center is in Kufa, Iraq, and they develop hypothetical faith. So there are some reasons for the differences between both of them. First, being political factors combined with differing social background. Second, different socio-cultural background, which means more complex lifestyle when capital of Islamic State shifted from Medina to Iraq and later on Syria. Lastly, great number of hadith available to the people of Madinah and the rulings of the righteous caliphs also contribute to the reasons for the differences. For the compilation of faith, we divide into three, which is era of righteous caliphs, Umayyad period, and compilation. So era of righteous caliph, there were no compilation of rulings made by them and the Sahaba. More concentration on running of state as state was expanding, just started to guide the young Muslim nation. No opportunity for compilation of previous rulings opinions. Sahaba viewed their rulings not binding on everyone. Next, for the Umayyad period, unfortunately, none survive in their original form. The early compilation are only quoted as references by next generation scholars, and a large number of previous rulings are preserved by narration and books. So some of the compilation made by the Hijaz scholars, first one being Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar, Aisha binti Abu Bakar, and from Iraq scholars Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Sayyidina Ali. So that is all from us. Thank you.